Would you be the jerk for making your 16-year-old son pay for their own room? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for starting my wedding ceremony before my mom showed up? The day of the wedding started out as they normally do. I, bride, was inside getting ready and final touches were being made outside. After I was almost ready by noon, my mom had to run back to the hotel 20 minutes away to change and come back with my grandma and family friend. The invitation says ceremony at 2. As per usual, we were a little late starting, but nothing crazy. Next thing I know, I'm walking myself down the aisle with no mom, grandma, or family friend in sight. The ceremony continues, and it's over before we know it. Still nothing. After 45 minutes, finally they pull up. Then I proceed to go and tell them it's over and that they missed it and that 2 meant 2. My mother immediately became hostile and proceeded to blame the bakery for not having the buns ready, then said they were stopped by a train, and my personal favorite was, "It's your fault you didn't call or text to see where we are." Excuse me, again, the invitation said 2. Also note, the officiant also had another wedding to get to after mine, so it was a tight schedule. So am I the jerk for not holding up my ceremony? Side note, I found out the real reason why they were late. She wasn't done getting herself ready, therefore holding up everyone, but she's mad at me because it's my fault. I would imagine that most people would hear this and agree that OP's not the jerk. I mean, I've actually heard in the past that it's actually good etiquette for things to start a little bit late. You know, the classic fashionably late or whatever. But if you have something scheduled for 2 and it's 2:45 or even 2:30, you're probably going to be missing a lot of stuff. And especially considering the tight schedule OP was on, especially with the officiant, if they just started rolling out that organ music at 2 p.m. on the dot, OP still wouldn't be the jerk. Sapient Meerkat commented, "Definitely not the jerk. If she could receive a text, she could send a text. It's not up to the bride or groom to keep track of family on their wedding day. That said, it is curious that no one, no other family members, no other member of the wedding party, no wedding planner, etc., made an attempt to find out where the mother of the bride was when she didn't show up. Was it a tiny ceremony? Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my dad he's crazy if he thinks I'm going to his house during the week just to make food for his stepkids? My parents are divorced. I, 16-year-old male, now live with my mom and visit dad every other weekend. The change happened about a year ago. The judge won't let me stop going on those weekends, but I wish I could. I have a younger brother, 14, and a younger sister, 11. My dad's married and has a stepson, 10, and a stepdaughter, 7. He asked me a couple of weeks ago to come to his house after school and make food for them before going home. He asked this because he found out that I sometimes make food for my siblings when mom works. He asked me about it the next weekend I was over there. He wanted to know why I never did that at his house. I said I just didn't. He told me I could have made food for all 4 of the kids. I told him no, that wasn't happening. He asked why, and I said because I don't mind making something for me and my siblings, but I'm not making food for just anyone. He told me his stepkids are my siblings too, just not by blood. And I told him they're not my siblings, and I never said they were. Then 2 weeks ago, he asked to go and cook for his stepkids after school. This is during weeks my siblings are home with me and my mom and weeks they're with him. I told him no, and he made that weekend annoying as freak. My mom told him to leave me alone. I'm a kid and I already chose to not keep 50-50 custody, so he'd want to cherish the time he has with me. He told mom to shut up. I didn't do what he asked. He then mentioned it to me Sunday, and that's when I told him he's crazy if he thinks I'm going to his house for the week just to make food for his stepkids. He told me if I can do it for my siblings, I can do it for them. I told him I love my siblings. That's why I do it. Then it was like he focused on me calling him crazy, and he said it's not crazy to expect family to treat each other the same, and how I'm showing blatant favoritism for my blood siblings and not my siblings through marriage. He told me it's cruel to be so blunt about it. Am I the jerk? In my book, OP's definitely not the jerk. They don't have any actual responsibility here. And let's be real, in a situation like that, how many of us would want to go to some other relative's house just to do chores, just to kind of be parentified and take care of their kids? Gee, thanks dad, I really love getting the chance to come over and just spend the entire time being your personal chef. Comfortable C2454 commented, not the jerk. They quote, "Then it was like he focused on me calling him crazy, and he said it's not crazy to expect family to treat each other the same, and how I'm showing blatant favoritism for my blood siblings and not my siblings through marriage. He told me it's cruel to be so blunt about it." They write, "It is on your dad and his wife to feed the kids while they're under his roof. You owe him nothing beyond visiting him during court-ordered visitation. He and wifey can figure out how to feed the kids during the week." Programmer level 2829 commented, "Dad thinks he's found a way. Order his child who doesn't live with him to do it and then punish her when she refuses to inconvenience herself to handle his parental duties. Not sure what OP can do other than keep her head down on weekends she's at her dad's house. Crappy of the judge to force visitation if there's no proof of parental alienation." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling someone I, 28-year-old male, didn't want to babysit my girlfriend, 24-year-old female? 2 weeks ago, I went to a high school friend's wedding. He's never met my girlfriend but still extended a +1 to me in case she would like to come since he knows of her. I didn't even bother mentioning the +1 to her because I knew she wouldn't want to go. She knows nobody there except for one girl she met one time, Lily, and Lily's boyfriend. The rest of the guest list was just the bride and groom's family, plus a bunch of high school friends. Anyway, wedding rolls around and I go. Lily asks me where my girlfriend is and why she didn't come. I said, I didn't want to babysit. I meant it as a joke, as in, if she had come, she would be glued to me the entire time, as there was nobody else there that she knows. I mentioned it to my girlfriend in passing today, and she was visibly upset when I told her that I said that to Lily. She said it makes her look bad. She also said that I should have told her about the invite. I asked her if she would have even gone. She said no. I said, what's the point then? Am I the jerk for telling Lily that I didn't want to babysit my girlfriend at a wedding where she didn't know anyone? Edit, thank you everyone for all the comments telling me how big of a jerk I am. I needed it. I took my girlfriend out for brunch, had a good talk, and I apologized. I told her going forward I will extend all invitations to her and be careful of saying things that paint her in a bad light. She accepted my apology, and we're good now. To clarify a few things, we've been dating for years and no, we aren't breaking up over this. Yes, we both love each other. She has accompanied me to numerous weddings. I don't force her to always stay at home. I wasn't trying to meet an old high school girlfriend. The groom invited only male friends from high school, so it was me hanging around my old crew, no girls. The groom isn't going to invite high school girlfriends to his wedding. I truly didn't mean to hurt my girlfriend, but I did, and I accepted what I said was wrong. Thank you. Yeah, OP ended up with egg on their face in this situation. It's not even the fact that the joke didn't land, it's the fact that it implies things about your girlfriend. It implies that in a situation where they don't know anybody, that it's just not going to go well, or implying that she can't handle that. And even if that is the truth, joke or not, that kind of thing doesn't really need to be addressed, and probably should have just been more focused on, I'll ask her and see how she feels. Jara9998 commented, "You're the jerk. The implication of what you said is that your girlfriend is clingy, can't handle an unfamiliar social environment, and having to look out for her at the event would have been a burden for you. You may have meant it as a joke, but it doesn't change what you implied." Our next story is, would I be the jerk for waving my passport in someone's face? I, 26-year-old male, am British. I'm also a dual citizen UK, Ireland. This is important to the story. While traveling, I was staying in a hostel, and a group of us there decided to go out to some bars. One of the group was an American guy, let's call him Jay. For some reason, Jay immediately took against me. It started with a few jokes he made about me being British, which I can take, with the bland food, bad weather type stereotypes. As the bar crawl kept going, he was getting drunker and making more and more comments. For instance, he just started referring to me as the Limey and was constantly saying things like he celebrated when the Queen died. It was no longer funny and was just all the time making jabs about where I'm from. I'm hardly patriotic and will be the first to complain about my country, but there was a point where I was getting offended and it was personally directed at me, started irritating and mocking my accent, etc. Eventually, I got annoyed and asked him why he thought he had a right to constantly be dunking on me and what his problem was with Britain. Jay's comments was along the lines of, I'm Irish, so it's allowed for me to constantly hate on Britain. My family came to America because of the famine, and a bunch of other comments like that. At this point, I was a bit drunk and had lost my temper, so I responded by waving my Irish passport in his face. I asked him questions about like if he'd ever actually been to Ireland, knew any family there, or knew anything about Irish culture. which he barely knew anything, didn't know of any family, and the only time he ever spent in Ireland was a week in Dublin, I started lecturing saying that a lot of Irish people had immigrated to the UK and that after his family spent over 100 years in the United States, he barely had any right to consider himself Irish, let alone think it's acceptable to just hate on random people from another country. The other people on this bar crawl had noticed me losing my temper and laying into the guy and called me a jerk since he was only joking, and it's stupid to play the "I'm more Irish than you" game, and should have just asked him to stop earlier. I personally don't think OP is the jerk. Did OP play into this game? Could OP have taken the high road? Sure. But this is after this guy's been ridiculously, for no reason, jibbing and jabbing against OP all day. I mean, this dude was ridiculous and, in my opinion, kind of deserved to get at least ridiculed if not humbled. Old Sky 7061 commented, "Not the jerk. Fun fact, he's not Irish, he's a Yank. You, however, are Irish. It's not stupid to play the "I'm more Irish." One person is Irish and the other one isn't. End of discussion. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not forcing my fiancé to wear my father's late wife wedding dress? My father lost his first wife, I'm going to call her Mia, more than 30 years ago. It is a very long and complicated situation, but to summarize it, my mother is the second on his heart because he's always said that the love of his life is Mia, and he's always made it clear. My dad still wears his wedding ring with Mia in one hand. My mom bakes a cake for her birthday. My mom leaves my dad alone when it's his anniversary with Mia and he's feeling down. There are many photos of Mia in the house. There are even photos of her in their room because my father never wanted to change them, etc. As crazy as it may seem, this kind of thing is very normal within couples of this type, and they see that as something normal and sweet even if it's not. For example, making a cake every Mia's birthday was the idea of another woman who's also married to a widower and does the same thing. I've been raised that way, kind of having two mothers, even if it wasn't like that. It was not a healthy childhood, but luckily I have gone to therapy to work on all the issues that this caused. My mother always says that he gives her the space she deserves and feels equally loved like he loves his first wife. My siblings and I don't see it that way because our mother deserves better. But if she is happy, we'll not ruin her happiness, so we never talk about it. Now, coming to the problem, I'm going to marry my fiancé. Her mother never even had a wedding ceremony, so she doesn't have a wedding dress to inherit. So my girlfriend excitedly told me that she thinks it would be cute to ask my mother if she can use her dress. My mom has mentioned that in the past, and I don't have any sisters, so I thought it was a nice idea. Anyway, I talked to my mom about lending her dress to my fiancé, and she got really excited and said yes. My mother had spoken several times about wanting to have a daughter to wear her dress, and she was very excited when my fiancé asked her to wear it. She even tried it on. That conversation was closed. Now, almost a month after we talked about it, my mom asked my fiancé that it would be nice to wear Mia's wedding dress. My fiancé told her no, she feels a connection with my mother and not with Mia. She doesn't even know Mia. After that, my mother has been asking me to try to convince my fiancé to wear Mia's dress. My father wanted me to put up the typical decoration to commemorate the deceased, but I told him I won't do that, so my mother now wants my fiancé to wear Mia's dress to commemorate her, and for her to be present too because she was someone really special. Again, I never met her. I don't know who she was. My fiancé told me that Mia is a total stranger to her. My fiancé wants my mother's dress. She wants to give her a special place at the wedding since my mother sees her as a daughter and she as a second mother and wants to have a special moment. I told my mother that I don't intend to do that. It even seems gloomy and weird to me, but I've been raised around Mia's memory that sometimes I don't even understand if I'm exaggerating or not. Am I the jerk here? Being raised in this kind of way sometimes makes me feel confused about what is normal and not in a family. It would be normal to ask my fiancé to wear Mia's dress in my family dynamic, but I don't know what someone who was raised normally would do, and if I'm a bad person for not wanting to have done it. Usually when it comes to weddings, my general idea is, what do you want to do and what do you want to have happen at your wedding? If they want to wear the passed on dress from specifically one person and they don't want to from another person, for whatever reason just about, I think you would almost never be the jerk. I mean, how many times in general, if you're in a situation where somebody wants you to wear their deceased wife's wedding dress and you don't want to, would that actually make you a jerk? Peony Pony commented, not the jerk. Why would your fiancé want to wear the dress of a woman neither you or she has a connection? No offense to your parents, but it's a weird and creepy request, and your father wanting you to have some sort of in memoriam at your wedding to his deceased wife is odd. OP responded saying, for him it's something normal since we've always had to have something in commemoration of her, even if we feel uncomfortable. Our next story is, am I the jerk for announcing my pregnancy at my friend's bridal shower? I, 31-year-old female, am a bridesmaid for my friend Abby, 32 DF. Abby and I are high school friends, and while we've drifted, I was honored to be a bridesmaid. She asked some of her other high school friends, some of which I've seen since college in person. I found out I was pregnant a few weeks ago, but I didn't want to announce it as I announced my pregnancy last year to family and friends, and then had a miscarriage. I was quite surprised I was pregnant again so soon, but me and my boyfriend were happy, and we decided to wait until I was further along to announce to be in the safe side. At Abby's bridal shower, her maid of honor got us to play a drinking game. I opted out of drinking, obviously, and settled on water, and said I had to be up early tomorrow so I couldn't drink. I thought it was fine until halfway through, my high school friend Jane was quite tipsy and offered me a shot, and I said no, I really can't. She pestered me and said that she would personally wake me up early tomorrow so it would be fine, but I insisted no. She then asked if I was pregnant and I got flustered and said no, but she caught me and said I was a bad liar. She was quite loud and congratulated me and told everyone I was pregnant. I felt really uncomfortable as I didn't want to disclose this, and it was Abby's day, not mine. Everyone congratulated me there and I brushed it off, thinking people were quite tipsy, so they would probably not even remember tomorrow morning. I wasn't having that much fun as everyone else was drinking, so I opted to leave first and thought it was all fine. I got a text today, 2 days later from Abby, saying she was upset that I announced my pregnancy at her bridal shower. I apologized on text and said I didn't mean for it to come out, but that Jane had announced it. OP's 1,000,000% not the jerk, they were just trying to be low-key about it for very good reason. I mean, it's a touchy subject for OP, they want to be sure and control it their way, and Jane absolutely just violated OP is the best way I can put it. They absolutely were cruel to both OP and Abby in a major way. Toon Army 1 commented, not the jerk because you didn't announce it. You didn't do anything wrong. Make sure that's clear. Why on earth would you take responsibility for someone else's mistake? Hi Abby, I understand you're upset and I don't blame you, but you seem to not understand exactly what happened. I did not in any way announce my pregnancy at your shower. I would never do that. Jane kept pressuring me to drink alcohol, even after I declined over and over. I obviously couldn't drink, but I didn't want to let her know why. But she didn't stop, and when she finally asked me point blank if I was pregnant, I even told her no. I said no specifically because I didn't think it would be appropriate to discuss my pregnancy at your shower with anyone. Hubby and I agreed to wait longer anyway due to our previous miscarriage. Jane, unfortunately in her tipsy state, decided on her own in that moment to loudly call me a bad liar and announce to everyone in earshot that I was pregnant. She announced it. I did not do that. I was horrified. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't want it, and it made me incredibly uncomfortable. I don't blame you for being upset about this. I also would have been upset. It was totally out of line. But please know that I didn't announce anything and didn't tell anyone that I was pregnant. Jane, tipsy or not, embarrassed me, ruined my opportunity to announce my pregnancy to my friends at a later date as I had originally planned, and managed to upset you at your shower at the same time. I'm personally upset with her. You had this happen at your shower, and now I don't get to announce to my friends in a few weeks like I wanted. I hope you will not try to hold me responsible for actions that Jane took on her own. Again, I'm so sorry that this happened. It was never what I wanted, and I'm also upset about how it all went down. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making my son, 16, pay for his own room? I'm a single mom of 5, 16, 14, 10, and 7-year-old males and a 9-year-old female, renting a 3-bedroom house. Up until 2 months ago, the eldest 2 boys shared a room. The youngest 3 boys shared, and I had the smallest room. For the last few years, my eldest complained non-stop about having to share a room with his little brother. Most of his friends' parents are wealthy, so he's constantly comparing our situation to theirs. He started working when he was 14, a few hours a week, for a little extra money. Now at 16, he works a lot, more than I would like, and this summer he's been working basically full-time. He's not too bad with his money and actually saves some of it, but the rest goes to video games, clothes and shoes, and junk food. 2 months ago, my son and I were discussing his distaste for sharing a room with his brother, and he said he would drop out of school now if it meant he could move out into his own space. I told him I had looked at 4-bedroom rentals in our area, but they were just too expensive. He asked if he could pay the difference if we did move. I told him no because during the school year, all his money would be going to rent, not his savings and his spending money. That obviously wouldn't sit right with me. However, we did come up with a compromise. For $50 a month, he could have my bedroom, and my 10-year-old could move in with 14-year-old, and I would sleep in our living room. Our couch is already a pullout. This was 2 months ago, and we already made the switch, and everybody is happy with the new setup. All the money my son is paying me is going straight into my Christmas savings, and then after Christmas, we'll go into a summer trip savings. I recently told some of my friends what I was doing, and they're against it. They think I'm wrong for taking any amount of money from my kids, and a couple of them said that I should have just given him the room without making him pay for it. They make some good points, and I don't totally disagree, and it makes me feel like a jerk. My 14-year-old son is also unhappy about the arrangement. He thinks it's unfair older brother is getting his own room, and that middle brother should have stayed in his old room. I can see how he feels it's unfair that older brother has the chance to pay for his own room when he, or the other kids, don't have the same opportunity. It seems bad to renege with my oldest now, but I'm not sure I made a mistake agreeing to this. Am I the jerk? So obviously, I think most people hearing the title would go, oh, OP's probably going to be the jerk, until they find out this is like a proper little arrangement that they have that allows them to get a better beneficial situation and OP sleeping on the couch in the living room. This isn't like OP saying, listen, my 16-year-old kid, you've got to pay to stay in my house. I think it's literally like a multi-beneficial thing. You get some money to set to the side for fun stuff later, and he gets a situation that makes him more happy that he's more than willing to work for. Boring Ghoul 451 commented, there is a wild difference between charging your underage kids rent and accepting $50 a month. That is going back to the kids, so a growing teenager can have privacy. No other children are getting less, and no one is getting abused by any means. Not exactly an ideal situation, but tricky problems require unconventional solutions, not the jerk. Animal16 commented, agreed, mom took the pull-out sofa so son could have his own room. That's pretty good parenting. I would have been made to sleep on the sofa. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister that it's implied that she'd have to pitch in around the house she's staying in rent-free? I, 29-year-old female, inherited a house from my maternal grandma. It's near the city so I can get to work and it's big enough for me, my 2 kids, and my husband. Even on our 2 salaries, my husband and I wouldn't ever be able to afford a home like this. Even though we are pretty frugal and have savings, the housing market is tough and we were extremely fortunate. My half-sister Ella, 25-year-old female, from my dad and I are very close, and she landed a new job in the city center. On her salary, she can't afford to rent a place in the city center area, and living on the outskirts and paying for a train there and back isn't cost-effective. She asked me if she could move in, as this was her dream industry. And although the pay wasn't great, it was for experience. And once she'd saved enough, she could get on her own feet. Ella got laid off around Christmas and had been trying really hard to find work, so I offered her the guest bedroom. She said she would help around the house. She's been here a month and been busy with her new job. I've asked her occasionally to help out, make dinner, or put the kids to bed if me and my husband are running late, and it's been fine so far. I asked her on her work-from-home day to pick up my youngest from school, as the nurse said she was sick. I couldn't reach my husband, there were major train delays on, so it would take me at least an hour, and my house is a 5-minute walk from my kids' school. Ella texted me back to say that she was working, but she'll try and pick up her niece when her meeting finished. I got upset. My daughter was sick, and Ella said she would try and pick her up after her meeting. I called her to tell her boss that she needed 20 minutes to pick up her niece after a family emergency and then she could continue. Ella argues that she still had to work for the rest of the day and she didn't have time to babysit her niece. I told her that I expected her help around the house when she moved in, and she said that she wasn't free labor. There's tension in the house now, and I wanted a second opinion. I actually kind of think this behavior is kind of scummy. I imagine it's a pretty telltale sign that OP has never been around somebody or appreciated somebody that does work from home work. It's an actual job, and when you're doing it, It's not always something that's necessarily, oh, I'm working from home, I can just take my laptop and do whatever I want actually and not actually do any work, and assume that there's no restrictions or that they don't have to actually be doing busy work during those 8 to 5 or however many hours they work. Dizzy Potato 3557 commented, "You're the jerk. You offered her a room to stay to help her with her career and then expect her to drop everything off at your convenience. Working from home is still working. It doesn't mean she's free to do whatever you need, even if it is an emergency with your children. Your children are not her responsibility and she was busy with work. Quite honestly, even if she was at home doing nothing, she is entitled to her free time. Calling her boss was way out of line and could be detrimental to her career. Why didn't you tell your own boss you had to take care of your sick child? She's not your personal help and you're not entitled to freak up her career because you decide an abusive way for her to pay rent. You deceived her by offering a place to stay and never telling her she was expected to pay in labor, and what is worse, in very uncertain ways she can't plan on. If you're not happy with the situation, better tell her she can't stay or she needs to pay and give her a reasonable time to replan." Edit. Telling her to call her boss is still out of line. You still could have called your own boss instead of expecting her to go out of her way at work to solve your problems. And picking up your kid is not a 5-minute walk only. It also means babysitting and caring for a sick kid while you arrive home during a working day. It seems like you think your job is more important than hers and you're disguising it as chipping in. She never signed up for that, and you can't suddenly say it was implicit or you expected that without ever telling her. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to be the designated driver for the new girl of the friend group? I, 33-year-old male, met my friend group Laura, 32-year-old female, Anthony, 31-year-old male, Julie, 28-year-old female, when I moved to Paris for my work around 8 years ago. When we go out, here's the deal. I'm the only one with a driver's license, so I'm the designated driver. I drive and pay for the gas, parking, etc., everything related to the car, in exchange for 1 Coke per passenger. During the night, if needed, I'll go with you to retrieve something in my car, a coat, cigarettes, makeup, cash, etc. When it's time to leave, I'll drive everyone to their place and walk them to their door while the others wait in the car. The problem started a few weeks ago. We were already at the bar when Marie, 29-year-old female, Anthony's new girlfriend, went to take a second or third round. I asked her to take me a Coke, and she asked for my credit card. Before I could say anything, Anthony just said, "Come on, babe, I explained to you how it works, don't make a scene." She just replied, and walked to the bar and came back with just her drink. I just looked at Anthony, rolled my eyes, ordered myself a Coke, and moved on. Later that night, Laura came to ask for my car keys and not to come. All the girls are going together. Reading between the lines, I understood that it was to get a tampon or a pad from the first aid kit that I always have in my car. Both Laura and Julie know that I have feminine hygiene products in my first aid kit. In the past 8 years, it's already happened for them to be the ones in need of it. A few minutes later, Marie came back charging at me and started to scream that I'm a pervert, why a F-slur has feminine hygiene products in their car, that she was right not to pay me a Coke since I'm a creep, a freeloader, and other stuff, still in the same tone. She created such a scene that we were all kicked out of the bar. While walking back to my car, Marie kept her act, screaming insults and other names to me while fake crying. So I snapped and told her, "Listen to me, witch. Enjoy your ride home, cause it will be your first and last one. I won't leave you here to make sure you go home safe only out of respect for your BF. But after that, you can find your own way to and from the club and bar." After that, we all got to the car and the ride home was very quiet. Fast forward to this weekend, in the group chat we're planning a night out, the first one since the incident, and Marie, who joined the group chat, asked for my address and gave me hers so I could drive her home. I just reminded her of what happened a few weeks ago, that I was serious, that I wouldn't drive her home, and that I don't want her at my place at the moment. She called me petty and a jerk before leaving the chat group, and now the friend group is divided. Anthony said, "I'm staying out of it," while Julie and Laura don't agree if Marie is right or not. So tell me, Reddit, am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk here. I think they had a really good arrangement going. I mean, think about it. They don't have to pay for any kind of transport to and from when they're drunk. They don't have to worry about driving anywhere drunk. And OP's the hookup that's got you covered when you have a situation that you need some help with that you aren't planned for. How does it make OP a pervert for having hygiene products in their car? Like, are you implying that OP's enjoying himself on either just having it or the thought of somebody using it who needs it? To me, Marie sounds all in the wrong here. Lizzie commented, "Not the jerk, she behaved horribly. You don't owe her a thing. I'm not sure I would have driven her home that first evening, so you're a better person than I am." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.